Gentlemen,
what's up?
what's up?
Who you calling a gentleman?
I don't know. Last week was.
I know you ain't talking to me and Michael here.
I want to know what happened last week, Mike. Why didn't you hold down the show, brother? I mean, we were out of town and we put all this faith in you.
Oh,
You were
man.
expecting great things. I thought you were going to bust out some hand puppets and go to work.
I wanted to get Dustin Cole, and I was thinking about Nikki. Yeah, get my sock puppets. You know, I had to do laundry.
Oh, man.
I wanted to have Santa Fe on. I wanted to have, like, Nikki Kruger. I wanted to have Kevin Hart. And then, poof.
You know why he couldn't have sock puppets on? Because too many holes in his socks. His finger would have come through.
Man, don't even get me started. We were at the ballpark earlier, and my little girl is a brand new pair of socks on, and she's just running around. And before you know it, hole right through the sock. And I'm like, that's it, man. And, you know, it's like she gets the expensive socks, not like my socks. She gets like all the ones with all the fancy colors and everything on them. And we probably spend, $3, $4 a pair. And I'm like, that's it. This girl's going to start wearing the high top whites, and that are super thick. You know what I mean? The embarrassing socks.
Heck
right.
Yeah.
The 80s socks.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
The red and blue. Yeah, I got Dustin Cole's number. Yep.
Hang on. I was looking at headlines, man. How did I threw headlines on here. My bad. That might be disturbing, but whatever. All right.
Headlines?
So, man,
what headlines?
Oh, titles to our names. I didn't know that. I must have threw that on accident.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. That was me. I was messing around with the settings.
Yeah, so I debriefed Mike for the show, and I'm like, Mike, you got this, man. We go through the tutorial. I'm like, this is how you run the show. I get in like 10 minutes before this show. Everything's whack. I've got tropical background, no sound. I'm like, oh, man, this thing's a mess.
The reverb on the audio.
Yep.
Dude, there's music in there. I was playing with some music.
Tearing it up, dude. All right, guys. So
and I got cold feet.
Tonight I want to talk about something that's that I kind of stirred the pot with a little bit a couple weeks ago in the group, and I want to bring it up. Yeah, that's right. I want to stir that pot. And if anybody out there who's watching wants to throw a chime in, send me an email, whatever. You know what? I'm gonna throw my email in the chat. That way, if anybody's got any feedback, wants to hit me with something good that they can contribute, send it to me. So
freaking pot stir.
That's right. Trying to do something good.
I like them.
All right, coming at you. Email.
We're going to stir this. I think you and I are going to stir this pot together.
I think we are. So if you're just chiming in on what's going on, here's what I'm going to say. Before somebody comes at me and says, read the manual, I'm like, you know what? I hear you, bro. I've read plenty of manuals in my life, but I don't think this one deserves your time and effort to get this accomplished, to read the manual. And let me put it in perspective. We're talking about getting an air conditioner up to full scale. I don't mean just the indoor fan and the compressor on, say, an inverter system. I want it up to full scale, and I don't want to read everybody's book to learn how to do everybody's brand to do so. I want to go like, if we're going to make this equipment smarter, better, and we're going to brag on how awesome it is, then it needs to be easy. And easy would be something like having a protocol where every brand follows some type of methodology that says every stat, this is what you're looking for, this is what you're going to do. That gets you to full scale. That gets you 30 solid minutes at full scale. And then, after that, you're on your own. At a specific temperature or outdoor ambient or both. There needs to be a protocol for that. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, in train it'll tell you like here's your conditions, which is good because not everybody knows that right off the bat.
So,
Yes.
so let me back up here a minute. Let me understand why you want this full speed or high speed, whatever. What's your goal with that action, right? Well, yeah, I understand that, and we're going to get in. I want to get into that because I've got some what I think are very salient points on this as we go along through this show. All right, but what's your reasoning behind wanting that to know and be able just to get up to full speed? And what do you consider full speed? Is that normal operation speed? Because when you start talking about some of the cold climate heat pumps and things like that with the inverters on the compressors, they go into what they call overdrive beyond what you normally would from, say, a 60 hertz signal. If you just fed that compressor with a standard 60 hertz signal, it would run at whatever X RPMs, depends on how many pull the motor is. They will actually overdrive that speed beyond that RPM. So what are you considering full speed, and why are you wanting to get there?
I would consider, that's a good question. And I'm going to go try to get specific with an answer. Let's say I have a profile of airflow that I've chosen. Like when you're looking at capacity charts and let's say you have 350, 400, 450 on the airflow, that's going to give you a delivered capacity as specific wet bulb. If I'm profiled my system to say run at 400 CFM per ton, I want to be able to know that this is my capacity output, and I want my compressor to stop itself during this test mode operation at that capacity that gives me the output capacity of the capacity tables based on that airflow parameter. So I kind of went circle there, but you get what I'm saying? I don't want to go into overdrive when I'm trying to compare it to some tabled literature that came out.
But first, we need to set the charge on startup at 100% compressor speed, not 120.
Well, okay. So,
right,
I think we've got some different nomenclature we're talking about here, right? You're talking about airflow on one hand, and you're talking about compressor speed on the other hand. Okay, now those are two very different things, and they are often controlled independently of one another.
I hear what you're saying, but so there ought to be an algorithm that says he's looking for test mode operation. This is the compressor.
There you go. So what you're looking for is a test mode operation that puts it into the whole system into a known compressor speed so that it can compare it to standard operating conditions.
Yes, exactly.
It's like checkout speed on
so you're looking
train,
for test mode so that you can use external tools, whatever those may be, to test airflow, to test charge, to evaluate the operation of the system in a comparative manner so that we can understand what the system's doing. Is the airflow correct? Is the charge correct? What's the resistance to airflow at that volume, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. And we wouldn't have to have different settings per se. We could have one setting. And if we know our charges, well, let me think about that for a second. I don't know.
So to me, what it sounds like you're saying is we need the ability in the system to be able to put it into the same compressor speed and the same fan speed that it was evaluated at under, say, the AHRI test conditions.
Well, if we're talking about inverters, I mean, we should benchmark it at 400 CFM per ton so that it knows it can go to 350, 280.
I was kind of about to say the same thing. I think the industry would appreciate if we just went for the 400 CFM per ton and then use that as a benchmark.
Let me stop there because 400 CFM per ton, all right, is all well and good as long as you have the same air density.
Yes. No, absolutely right. I agree with you there.
So that means you've got to have a nominal what do I want to say? Air density, which is humidity and pressure on the air. So a typical altitude. So where do we draw the line, right? Because if you look at how say a constant airflow fan works, it's not moving CFM, it's moving pounds of air.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's looking at, if you look at a constant airflow fan, the way that it looks at, and yeah, I hear you, AC, super cool, KISS, but there's a lot of thought process that has to go on behind this in order to make it simple for the person working on it, for that technician.
No, you're absolutely right. If we don't make an algorithm for high altitude and standard air, then the guy who's measuring in Denver, Colorado, is going to be basing his test operation on a failed algorithm, which is not going to move the same mass of air, right? He's going to be
it's going to move the same mass of air because it's talking about pounds of air, but it's not going to be the same cubic feet of air.
Well, it's going to chase, right? The fan motor is going to chase, and it's going to ramp up. It depends on what it's looking for as a target.
All right, so we'll just use the true flow grid, and we're good to go.
If you look at
that's your test out instrument, just like Measure Quick and probes are your test out instrument. We're talking about, yes, that's essentially what you want to do. To verify operation, you're using the tools to test the machine to make sure the machine's accurate. Right? It's a check and balance game. The problem is we don't have a check yet. It's like we have a blank check and we can write anything we want. And we have no, and we can't even look in the bank to see what's in the bank. So it's like, okay, well, how do I'm just gonna write the check out for $1 million and go, use my debit card to go pull out $1 million. And it was a terrible analogy, but what I'm saying is we need to know what's in the bank. We need some point to start from, and stuff's getting more and more expensive. Wall controllers are getting up to $500 or
yes,
plus,
sir.
and they're not spitting out this data that we need easily.
Well, like I was saying, Train does have compressor speed on normal operation, but they don't have it on test mode. Wait, no, you can put it into test in compressor speed. You can pick.
A lot of the manufacturers have that available. You just have to know how to get into it. And it's a pain. Some of them are really easy to get into, and some of them, it's a pain to get into. And this kind of goes back to what we were discussing on your post, is that some sort of a universal protocol, like an OBD protocol, like what the OBD2 protocol, what's in automotive. So literally every, and I'm going to say this carefully, not every auto, but every combustion auto right now in the US has to have this OBD2 plug in it. And I think some of the other countries have adopted that. I'm not super up on it, but on the finer points of the requirement, but it's the same plug and it's the same protocol across the board so that anybody can plug a code reader into it and get the codes.
Yeah. Dude, that would be awesome, because I told my buddy, I was like, hey, Jenry just sent me out this book for Train. And I go, hey, listen, bro, he does Train and he does one other brand that, not that much, but I go, hey, did you know the new TAM-X, you have to, you don't have to, but it's like almost impossible to start it up without this. You download this QR code and you got the app, and then it's like Measure Quick kind of. It's like, here's the app. So you got gauges and everything. And
nice.
Yeah, so they're all Bluetooth. It's kind of like Measure Quick. And the new TAM-X has a static pressure probe kit you could get separately, and it has a supply air temperature. So now you got everything you need. But like what Chris was saying, it's got the great Bluetooth and everything on the front. My buddy can't even hook me up. I got the Train 360 app authorization, but he's having his wife scramble around trying to get me into the system for the new app. He's like, I don't know how to do it. I was like, dude, this is too complicated.
Yeah, way too far. Way too far already.
Yeah, dude. At the symposium, I took the Ream class. They were like, all you got to be is able to download our Ream app. You don't have to be a dealer. You could get warranty information. You can get Bluetooth information, and just, dude, do what you got to do. Why has it got to be so difficult?
Well, I not just driving it home on manufacturers, but I get what they're
Bro,
trying to do, and they want to stay proprietary, right? And I'm not saying that they have to let that go,
I
but
guess, bro.
there could be a unification of how they get to a startup mode.
So
That
listen, my buddy's a service manager in there, right? So when I get off the phone with him, I tell him, he tells the truth. The truth is when they hang up the phone, right? He turns to my buddy. He goes, "Well, we just won't sell this shit anymore."
Oh no, Eric, what did you say in the thread the other day? It was like
Come on.
one of the most well stated one sentence items in this whole conversation. And I can't remember how you worded it, but you said this is what's going to deter people from looking into higher equipment.
Oh yeah, because when you think about how the difficulty that it is to access this equipment, to keep up with it, because take a look at, Ream or Train or Carrier, how many iterations have they already had of these proprietary stats that aren't backwards compatible, right? And it deters people from going into the higher end equipment, especially when they can't, maybe they don't have access to it. Maybe they're afraid to sell this stuff because what happens in another 5 years if they change brands that they're their primary dealer for, right? They change brands and all of a sudden they can't access all this stuff like you're talking about on the Train side or any other manufacturer that has that really locked down proprietary environment. What happens if suddenly they become not a dealer, whether they get kicked out of the program, whether they choose to leave voluntarily, and now they don't have access to support their customer, right?
Yeah.
And in effect, that is the manufacturer kind of taking ownership of that customer. And to me, that's, if I'm a business owner out here, that's kind of a dangerous thing to think about. And I think that that's really deterring a lot of technicians and HVAC businesses from considering higher end products because they are, yes, they are complicated, but in a lot of ways they're overcomplicated and there's not a universal across the board system or protocol or anything that they can just learn. Now they have to learn every different brand. And you're either going to have to become really specialized in one brand when we start going into more and more of these higher end systems, which more and more of that is coming. But it's like, to me, it's like, why does one and House said it when we had him on here, talking about thermostats, I think, and I was at House on. Anyways, why does he stick with like Honeywell thermostats, right? Well, because the Honeywell thermostats, there's a commonality in the programming and the operation throughout their whole series, and once you learn it, it's really easy to get into the next generations of it.
Yeah.
Well, because it makes it simple for his technicians to be able to walk up to a Honeywell thermostat and look at it and say, I already know how to run this because I understand the logic and the workflow of going into that system. Well, now if you've got 20 different systems out there, we're already having troubles getting people to learn the fundamentals of this stuff. Why in the heck are we overcomplicating it? Why are these manufacturers not banding together and saying, we're going to do this? Now, as Chris has shown, there used to be a program out there called Climate Talk. And I don't know the finer details of why that whole thing broke up and fell apart, but I do know from talking to a couple programmers that there was some inherent issues with that whole protocol. And I don't know if it couldn't do everything that they needed to do now, or if it wasn't expandable. I'm not sure what. I
just want to say one thing, Chris, real quick. By the way, with the Train, I cannot wait to get this equipment. Like, this is the equipment I've been waiting for. This TMX. I want to get one like right now. So let me just disclaimer that. All right, let me throw that out there. Go ahead, bro.
So I was reading an article before, like half an hour ago, just trying to play catch up on Climate Talk because I'm trying to understand what this was. man, they had a lot of weight, a lot of powerhouse companies that were pushing climate talk. And
Yeah.
so just to let everybody know, like I emailed the editor who wrote the article because I'm about to ask him, be like, hey man, what did you find out? Why didn't this go anywhere? What's the story? And I'm hoping I get some feedback. If I do, I'll come back and see what's up. Because I'm like, I need to expand on that. Here's the deal. I basically, for TEC, will go to ASHRAE now, right? I'll go to classes there. It's kind of like part of the job. And I'm like, I want to be useful being I'm going to go there. And this is something that I deem necessary. Something needs to give.
I'm with you,
And
bro.
it's intimidating as hell. I've already brought this up at the committee meeting and tried to kind of mention it as like this nobody in the back of the room. And I kind of got, smirked off, like, yeah, whatever, dude. like, who let this text up in here? And I'm like, come on, man. And I tried to be like really nice. And I'm like, look, guys, yeah. But
hey, man, as a consultant, I like it. And keep it complicated. The more they'll call me more often. My other friend's company, they'll call me to start that one up. But you're right. Eventually, they'll be like, screw it. I'm not selling this equipment. I'm not going to recommend it no more.
Yeah, it's and then I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, man, is this what I need to be doing with that? My time there with that? Because like I kind of got razzed a little bit in the chat group that somebody's like, hey man, you just should probably read the manuals. And I'm like,
yo, we have those shirts, those RTFM shirts. So maybe we just wear them.
Like, man, am I ignorant? Like, did I just put myself out there as like, damn, I'm dumb? Like I just made a really dumb comment. Or am I wrong? Is there a problem here that needs to be dealt with?
I'm going to jump in here and say, as somebody who's formerly done distributor tech support for a time and getting in on the backside of some of these systems coming out, there's a lot of manuals out there that are not complete, right? They don't tell the whole story. And I will often say to people, go read the manual. But it's almost come to where I have to put a caveat on that because
which one?
A lot of these, they don't put the whole detailed algorithm in the manual. They don't put some of the fine. Now, some manufacturers are better, and some manufacturers are really, really good at it. But even some manufacturers that are really, really good at it still have like the really, really in-depth details are buried in private top secret manuals that they don't send out to anybody. Like that's hidden in the back room. And you got to be top secret clearance with retina identification and a freaking GPS tracker shoved up your nose to be able to access them and even see them in the first place.
Like that YouTube
and
video
I'm just going to throw that out there.
What's his name? The AC room.
So there's a guy, Brian, that he said manufacturers won't probably ever do it because the money in the stats is, they're not going to let that go. So just let Brian know we're not asking for them to give us the luxury to put any stat we want on the wall. What we're asking them to do is just however they get to full commissioning mode or charge mode or whatever they want to call it, basically to write an algorithm in each of one of their thermostats that says, this is how you do it. This is what it's called. This is how many seconds or minutes you're going to get in that mode. Give me something on the wall controller that, costs nearly $500 or plus to, do this for me.
I'm going to say I want the next step beyond that.
Okay.
I want a universal, not that they can't have their own proprietary things, but I want a universal communication protocol across the whole thing so that like I can come up and put a diagnostic tool in it, or I can get a lot of the diagnostics out of every system in a universal method.
I think it would have to be that, Eric, because there's brands that do inverters that let you put whatever stat the Comfort Bridge, you don't have to have, you could have an Ecobee on the wall and run an inverter system, which means you're probably going to have a plug-in in the outdoor unit at that point.
Okay, but that is not necessarily a fully communicating system though.
Right.
Is it?
Right. just
because
like a Bosch.
it uses a standard 5-wire thermostat.
You got to have a communicating system. I agree. Because it's got to talk back. Because where are you going to put the ODB? It'd be nice to go outside, and then some would be by the T-stat.
It's been a while since I touched one, but I could have sworn it can communicate and use Comfort Bridge, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Now,
If
there are
Dustin
systems
here,
that can do.
He knows. Throw it at me.
There are systems that you can do either or.
Yeah.
Right. And you can flip flop back and forth, but you lose features when you go away from that communicating control.
Oh, absolutely. You lose some of the algorithms, right? You might lose what's that, predictive learning and stuff like that when you do that.
Well, you're also a lot of times you're going to lose the ramping features and the capacity ramping. You're actually going to get, it's going to be a 2-step ramp. So like if you have a Y1, Y2 or W1, W2 on it, and you put on a standard control versus a communicating control, that communicating control will actually send out the temperature, it'll send out the actual temperature from the temperature sensor. Versus if you throw on a conventional thermostat, all it's going to give is an on-off signal. Now, what some of those will do is they will watch the frequency of that on-off signal. Like how often is it turning off and on? And they will learn from that to say, what capacity do I need to run at? Because the idea is to keep it running continuously at a low speed.
Yeah, but you're going too far because we want to benchmark this bad boy, get it running, subcool it out, and then all that algorithm in the train does that later on. Like I can now enter my heat load calculation into this thing.
Now,
unbelievable.
What if you want something simple for like what you're asking for? My thought process on this is that you need a control button somewhere on the boards, somewhere that says press and hold this, or press and hold this combination of buttons for X number of seconds, and you get a test mode that goes into stable operation within 2 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. And then it flashes a light back that says, I'm in test mode. Now you can evaluate me using external means.
So Daikin doesn't have that?
That's not necessarily what I wouldn't even term that as test mode. I would term that as an evaluation mode, because what it sounds to me like what you're looking for is the ability to externally evaluate the operation of that system for, programs or third-party evaluations and things like that.
Yes. I'm going to take it one step further and tell you what I want. I want to be able to know when I put it in test evaluation mode, I want to know how long from there that I'm going to be in that mode. And I want to be notified if it pulls itself out of that mode some kind of way. The reason is,
and that's why I'm saying there would be, like you said, 30-minute window, you have 30 minutes to test it, and there's a certain light pattern that it flashes or a certain thing on the display that says evaluation mode or test mode, however they term it.
Yes.
Yeah. Train does 120 minutes.
And the wall controller should absolutely be if you've bought the really nice wall controller, it should be programmed to tell you this, in my opinion. If it's systems that doesn't have that wall controller, that's fine.
Yeah.
If it's a communicating wall controller, it should get that feedback. But I still think an even easier way to do it is to don't do it in the wall controller. Don't go to that wall controller to turn that mode on. Go to the
you're
equipment,
in the house too much.
Press a hard button, because if you're sticking with a proprietary wall controller or even a non-proprietary wall controller, you still have to go through a menu selection to get to that point. Go to the equipment, press a hard button, and it does it all at the equipment.
Yeah. So that's Train does it at the T-stat, sets it for 120. You go outside, do your subcool. And now with the new TAM-X, they're doing they're taking that away. They're doing like it's a 360 thermostat, and then it's kind of has its own like zoning board, which does a bunch of different stuff. and then you go outside with your Bluetooth. So everything's going to be Bluetooth. So you put it into test mode from your phone or your tablet, and then you throw it into test mode there. So you're not standing in the customer's, you're checking it outside.
I love the thought of Bluetooth right now. Okay. But I have to look to the future in my mind as well. That's my mind is also looking to the future. Like,
Is
where
Bluetooth
are we
going
going to
away?
go? I don't know. Is it?
I'm asking you. You're like the technical
There's
master.
also
No.
different types of Bluetooth. It's not just Bluetooth.
Well, so here's the thing. What happens if Bluetooth evolves so much over the next 10 years that the handheld devices, right, these phones and stuff that we have in our hands now isn't backwards compatible enough to access that?
Oh, I hear you. Because, right, you get this unit now, 10 years down the road, we evolve from phones to something else different. Bluetooth
So,
number 2.0, whatever. Yeah.
right. So here's my thought on
I
that.
hear you.
We have a plug, whatever type of plug. Maybe it's a USB plug, maybe whatever that could be, kind of like the OBD2 on a car. It has a plug. It's a known proprietary
Right.
plug. So you have whatever kind of plug on the equipment. If you want diagnostic equipment, get a plug where you can plug in a dongle, right? Because then
that
dongle.
It could go Wi-Fi, it could go Bluetooth. I totally agree with you, man.
Well,
I dig it, bro.
That's going to come down just like the OBD sensors, man. You got different name brands. That's a whole market in itself.
Or it goes USB to Lightning connector, USB to Android connection. So I'll leave that shit up to them. But right now, dude, they got to step it up, man.
I agree. That is my call out.
I'm just saying
to make that part.
It's garbage right now.
I'm just saying I wouldn't want to lock the equipment into like that Bluetooth standard, because in another 10 years maybe we have green tooth. Who knows? Maybe it's yellow tooth.
Totally agree with you.
I don't know what's going to happen.
About that.
I hear you, man.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, man. Here's what I'm going to go back and say. The trade is starving for technicians. Of course, we all know. Guys are going to come out of school. How many of the guys coming out of trade school, guys or girls coming out of trade school, are going to come out with like awesome firsthand knowledge on inverters? Or do you think they're being taught the fundamentals? They're being taught the fundamentals. They may taste inverters if they're lucky at their school. They come out to the field, and then within, they do an apprenticeship, let's say, and maybe they're brand specific, maybe they're not. And let's say this guy starts getting in the field, and before you know it, he walks up to 4 units and runs 4 service calls in one day. And let's say it's all charge-related items. And he goes to a Carrier, he goes to a Rheem, he goes to a Daikin, and he goes to a Train.
Yeah,
that dude, that kid's going to fail that day, right? Because what's he going to do? Read 4 manuals that day? And so, well, I'm not sure how this one's done. Let me get out the book.
It's true, man.
People who say read the manual, here's what I'm going to tell you. Imagine this 22-year-old kid comes to your house and goes, "Oh, give me 1 minute."
Yeah. Hold on. like this freaking manual. Yeah, hold on.
Hold this button.
Yeah. Hold down for 10 seconds.
Yeah, I want to see somebody. I want to see a homeowner pay for that without calling the main office complaint.
And dude, my buddy's company that I used to do sales for, he's got guys going in there like they're calling me. How do I get into that setting? And I'm going, he's on the phone and I can hear the homeowner in the background and he's going,
the problem is,
so I hold it down for 10 seconds. I'm like, dude, you almost have to FaceTime me, bro.
Well,
this is getting ridiculous.
The time we're spending on the younger guys who haven't been exposed to this yet, or the older guys who haven't been exposed to this yet, they're calling their buddies we're now distracting from getting their work done because they don't want to, it's a brotherhood. You're not going to leave people, hanging. So you're going to be on the phone with this person talking to them probably while you work. I'm sure we've all done that in this circle, right? Have a conversation with our phone locked to our shoulder while we may be changing a relay, right? Exactly. There's plenty of that going on.
Thank God for AirPods.
And if we're going to do the right thing for the trade, this protocol is kind of necessary. So I'm really curious to dig into Climate Talk and see what happened. Why did it not go anywhere? Now, going back on that conversation, here's what I'll say. I did some research on that, did some digging, and it sounded like Climate Talk, just my thought was they were swinging the bat, like Bo Jackson, man. They were going for the Holy Grail and maybe trying to connect to microwaves and dishwashers and everything it was totally connected home. This is going to be the protocol for everything.
Bo Jackson. I haven't heard Bo Jackson in a while. That's a good one.
Yeah, man. And I just watched a Netflix documentary, you know what I'm saying? If you haven't watched it, watch it. It's awesome. But anyway.
Gotta know Bo.
Listen, Bo don't know diddly, okay?
Oh, you gotta love some Bo. Come on.
So all I'm saying is, I think they swung for the fence a little too hard, and maybe that's why they got pushed back. That's what I'm assuming, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right.
It's a Michael House special.
So I'm gonna reach out and see what I can find out. I'm gonna do some digging because I don't want to go down the same road and it just be, a failure. But we do need people behind us. Look. So just FYI, I've had this conversation with, I would say, a couple of the heavy hitters of this industry. And I was advised to, if this is going to move forward, we as the technician, people of the trade, we have to lobby to the lobbyists to go push this for us.
So we need money.
We need money.
We need money.
First off, we need lots of money.
China.
There's never enough money needed. So all I'm saying is, if you're part of an association like ACA could stronghold this and be pushing for it, and we're going to need them to push this forward.
Everybody's got to join ACA, dump a little money in there, get a little slush fund money.
That's not what I'm saying, but saying you got to. What I'm saying is get involved. If you want to,
ACA Ed would appreciate it.
Yeah, if you want to see changes, you got to get involved. And if you don't want,
that's the thing. I mean,
and don't get involved.
Yeah, well,
we got to push our.
I got ADD, and this kid right here, man.
Yeah, this kid right here, throwing out some
JD's
great graphics.
He's good. Yeah,
good stuff.
He's good.
We should get that guy on the show one night.
This kid's killing it.
We should. Yep. That'd be a lot of fun.
JD Kelly, you have an invite to come on to the show. So,
love those drones, man.
You will, man. But
hey, there. See, Will, put that one up there. Will's got it right there.
Everything should just have.
If we would just do BACnet across the board, then we could do everything.
The hell's BACnet?
It was the commercial protocol. This is the way
it still is. I mean, it is. Yeah. It's a commercial protocol. It's a communications protocol that was supposed to be like the universal for commercial applications in the industry.
Okay.
I think it was pushed by.
I will contribute to that.
Dustin motherfucking Cole.
I'm sorry.
You got me.
Just wait until all I'm thinking is Dustin standing on a box in the middle of Washington going, "The rum is gone. Why is the rum gone?"
I pictured Dustin in the middle of Mardi Gras with the beads, just like, hey, go fund me for HVAC.
Dustin, we can't put you on stage, man, because I'm seriously, all I see is one wild night that happens before the meeting, and you're just going to be asleep.
Yeah, exactly. He goes, you want me to take my shirt off? You want me to take my shirt off? I'll do it.
And then he's going to get so tired because he's hungover. I see this. He's going to be like, look, guys. And he's going to have to put his foot up and be like, all I'm saying is, I'm saying, give me 5 minutes, all right? Give me 5 minutes. That's what I think.
Oh, man.
Love you, man.
We got one more square in here. One more square in here for Dustin.
Yeah.
You don't think he's going to be standing out there with his foot on the barrel and a sword by his side and a big old hat on?
Maybe that's what we need. Somebody who's loud and proud.
That conquistador hat.
So I don't know. all I'm saying, guys, is let me hear it from the chat. Is this are we headed in the right direction? Throw me a thumbs up if you think we need to keep going.
Is
If you
Chris
think,
on to something?
am I on to something here? Do I need to keep, rallying this army together, or am I wasting my time?
Chris is rubbing.
Because
He's rubbing some bows with some big people.
I could get in a lot of trouble. You know what I'm saying?
He's like, I can lose my job, or I can make things better.
This ain't exactly the most successful business move I'm chasing here.
Yeah, right. This is going to make you zero monies, right?
That's right.
It's
It's definitely going to
shitty business
piss
move.
people off. And see, he's
But I
going to
like it.
Chris, I don't know if we're going in the right direction. And then I'm going to say, Eric, you guys take over now because I'm in hot water.
Got Jason in the chat. Man, everybody's showing up. I appreciate the love, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. So I'm getting thumbs up. It sounds like I'm not alone, which is good.
Yeah. I think Reem is on the, because at the symposium when I took that class, man, Reem is, bro, anybody could download the app, check warranty.
Reem was
Reem has always been pretty open. Like they haven't locked their stuff down in a lot of times.
They're
And
the Brian
I'll
Orr
say
of
that
HVAC.
a lot of technicians complained about that not being locked down because they were like, oh, the homeowner's going to get into it. Well, I'm here to tell you.
If you've not gotten to know me at all, dude, I don't care who likes me, who does it.
Vouch for that. Any kid with a smartphone is going to figure out how to hack this stuff. They're going to figure out how to get into it. It's not all that secret like everybody wants to think it is. The internet is out there.
But Tesla paid them some money.
Yep.
Tesla paid them some
They can hack a Tesla.
Here's what I will say.
Tesla, they're going to hack your HVAC system.
So I talked to Steve, my boss, about it. I'm like, hey, do you think we should, should I spend my time on this, going to the ASHRAE and spending my time? And he goes, yeah, I think Chris, if it's a need, you should chase it. If it's good, if it's good for the industry, then you just keep doing what you're doing.
Steve Rogers is awesome, man. Tell Steve I said hello, bro.
I will. And I'll say, man, I'll keep going for it. I said, I'm worried that it could rock a boat.
That's cool.
He advised me, he goes, just be very politically nice. He goes, but keep your foot on the pedal. He's like, you can do both at the same time. He's like,
P's and Q's.
He said, I will tell you this. What you're asking to get accomplished will take no less than 10 years.
Wow.
So here's where I would stand from on this. And here's where I'm standing from on this, right? I want to stand on the side of the industry technicians who are out here struggling, which ultimately stands on the side of the consumers who are using the product and having to pay the technicians to work on the product. You stand on the side of those two people and rationally make the argument. I'm 100% with you. And thank you, Will. You're exactly right. Yeah. Life safety stuff needs to be locked down, in my opinion. There's certain things, but the rest of it, heck with them. Let them fiddle with it, and they'll pay us to come fix it when they screw it up.
Some bacon wrapped shrimp, and then I don't know.
Bro, think about it, man. Every technician in my buddy's company has to have this new Train app to work on this damn thing. The on-call guy's got to, hey, you got your app? Is it updated? Like, what the frig, man?
Dude, we got enough to know already. We don't want to know every freaking manufacturer's different protocol to just put the damn thing in charge mode. Like, let's get real. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, I love it, but every guy at the company has got to have the app, and they got to be set up on the computer from the main office. Come on, get real, bro.
Yeah.
That's not realistic.
It's not realistic. And everybody having their own protocol is not realistic. That we've already been, look, there's so many industries have went down this road and they've tried and it's failed. Look at vehicles. Boom. Hey, we're going to do this. It was proprietary. Then the OBS came out. And I mean, that was a hell of a fight. And Tom, who's in the chat, man, I appreciate you chiming in on that thread. He's talking about the electric cars. Dude, that's fascinating to me. Like, I can't wait to see how that plays out because they're trying to lock down the electric cars now to where
I looked into that, bro. My buddy, my brother got a Tesla, and it is on lock, bro. Like, you cannot modify that car. You cannot he he says everything's open source, but like if you want to fix it,
I tell you what, Tom, if you shoot me an email, man, I'll bring you on the show. I want to hear more about that. I'll bring you on now because I want to hear about this. Because his story is, you know, he was an automotive technician that then became an HVAC technician.
Oh, he's the one that jumped in our group that has all the automotive stuff. Okay.
Yes, I've actually hit him up with automotive questions.
Yeah.
He's helped me out before.
I remember asking him, bro, should I insulate my suction line on my van? It's all open underneath. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go under there with some Armorflex.
All right, so Eric, are you gonna be in Ashray at Tampa in a couple months or no?
No.
But Bill Spohn will be there.
Yes, Bill will be there. I think he actually sets in that committee that you're going into. The what committee? Which committee is it? 221 or 229 or something like that?
The 221 is the it's not the where this table discussion is going. It's where it started. That's where I went with it first. That's the committee that NCI pushed that got all about how to testing out an air conditioning system, which sounds like this is a perfect place for it, right? But then I was also encouraged to leave that committee and go to the 6.3 committee, which is kind of like a very big committee. And if you ever thought what Ashray is in your mind, if you've never been, and I've only been like twice, it's exactly what I thought it would be. A lot of suits sitting around a table where you feel like there's a massive contract that's for billions of dollars is about to be written. That's what it felt like.
That's awesome.
And that's the committee where this conversation's headed. So we'll speak.
Yeah, I mean, I covered a few of the
Will, send me an email. Let's chat.
I covered
it's
a
up
few of the
up top
Ashray
of the chat
for Brian out at when AHR was in Las Vegas 2 years ago, and a lot of the Ashray folks were actually very receptive to having someone. It felt like they were very receptive to having more of the technicians and the field personnel in there.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sweating. Like it was time for new business, and I'm looking around and I'm just like, hey, is this me? Is this when I go? Like I'm just a tech from the field, bro. And I'm just like, I don't know when I'm supposed to stand up and say anything here. And
Chris is in flip flops and shorts, and everybody's in business suits and shit. They're like,
come on, man. I had two, polo on.
Mr. Hughes.
And I kind of mentioned it. And
would you like the microphone, Mr. Hughes?
I think they at first kind of was like, yeah, that's never going to happen. And I was like, well, I don't think I quite explained that well enough. And then I kind of tried again, and they were kind of like, And I was like, look, this just needs to be discussed more, I think. And they were.
There you go. It's very political of you.
I was in there like with a bag of candy, man. Like, hey, look, I'm a nice guy, right? And it was like four guys from manufacturers that came up after that. They were super nice to me, and they were like, hey, man, we totally get where you're at with this.
Right.
We'd like to, hear more. They're like, we're not going to promise you anything, and they even said, hey, you're up for a hell of a fight, but we're interested in what you're saying. And I'm like, okay. So that, see where that goes.
I mean, look at my buddy's company.
Man.
Hey, let me just tell you, Jason, one of my slickest moves when I was running Hughes, I would also, I'm over here in Louisiana and Cafe Du Monde is big, right? Everybody likes a powdered donut. So like when I would go chase new business, I would always make sure I'd go get Cafe Du Monde because it takes a while. So nobody ever brings it into work. So when I was going after a new place, I would always go to Cafe Du Monde and I would deliver Cafe Du Monde to all the receptionists. Let me tell you what, that's a win move.
Damn.
That will get you some new business.
That's a power move.
That's a power move. And but it works. Because let me tell you what, those receptionists, they got a lot of stroke inside those businesses, believe it or not.
Was that is that like a double-sided joke too?
What's that? Oh man, I ain't even gonna lock it down. Not going there.
Just keep going. Just keep moving along.
All right, so I'll just say we're back from Vegas. Sorry we missed the show last week, but I will say show went well. So Mike, I wish you would have been there with us. Me and Eric, and we
I
had
wish I can go, bro.
man, we had Bill Spone. It was Steve Rogers, Bill Graber, and we put on one of, I would say, one of the only shows that ever has hit like this. It was pretty cool. It was called The Petting Zoo. We had, I was demonstrating the True Flow. We had the duct plaster. We had the blower door. We had power bending tools. We had infrared.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dude, and it was awesome. And I've got the whole like whistle thing. And every 15 minutes, the attendees had to rotate. And so every 15 minutes, they rotate between the 5 stations. It was pretty legit. And all the attendees, from what I heard, were like, man, that was one freaking cool class.
I wish I could be there, man. I got to get a job with like ACCA for like part-time.
Yeah,
I'll just go to shows for you.
We didn't want it, no slides.
That's Ed's job. I don't think you can have that one.
Oh shit, that's right. Yeah, sorry, Ed. Can I hold Ed's briefcase? Can I get that job?
You can walk around and comb his beard out.
Yeah, I'll be Aka Ed's like beard comber. Is that good, Ed? Okay.
Well,
I would do it.
I hope he watches this show sometime.
So, all right, what are we talking about next week? Where are we going with this next week? I gotta know.
I don't know. I don't know.
If you're in the chat, man, what do you want to hear us dig into next week? I got time to read, so like I'm about to go. Oh,
Ty, I'm sorry, brother. We have an entire
hit
PowerPoint for that, and it's on the website. You can download it.
Oh, hey, to Ty, I'll tell you this. He said no slides. Love it. So I did build a slide deck for the petting zoo class. None of the slides got used. We totally were like, yeah, screw the slides. We're just doing this. And they were really good, man. I probably spent a week putting that class together. And
you worked your tail off on that. It was a good looking slide deck.
The slide deck was amazing. Gone, wasted. Never going to use it. It's all good though.
Nope, never used it.
But so here's a book I've been reading, guys. I just finished it the other night. So me and my kids. So I'm starting a new tradition where me and my kids go to the library because like the library is free, and we go rent books and we rotate them and we read them and then we talk. So I just finished this little book about inflation, and
dude, that's
here's
awesome.
what I've been learning, man. It's like, so the country is all about inflation. We want inflation to be around 3% typically, right? Like that's what we would call good inflation, which is interesting because here's what I would tell you. Through reading that book, this is what my one easy takeaway was. If the country is in a spurt where inflation is hitting 3% every year, then I would encourage you to give 3% at least, raises to your employees, because you're keeping up with inflation, which means if they don't get a raise, they essentially are losing money at the beginning of next year, right? What they're making is not what they were making to buy the same goods the next year. So that really hit home for me, because me and my dad used to struggle like crazy about like, how much do we pay this guy? How much do we pay this guy? My dad was always one of those guys who would be like, we would go 2 years or 3 years and then give a really fat raise to someone. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have did yearly raises, and maybe they would have been less, but more frequent. Cause I think people appreciate that more than a couple years and then wham, here it is.
If you look at raises in dollars, you should actually have 2 different kinds of raises.
For
right?
sure.
What you're talking about and there are inflation calculators online that you can go look at. So, and Chris is absolutely right. You also have to raise your prices. You can actually look at inflation calculators and go back years and figure out, you type in what a dollar amount was 5 years ago, you can figure out what it's worth today, or, vice versa. So there's cost of living raises, which is your inflationary raise. And then there's your reward raises, or your reward compensation for doing a good job, or doing better job, or, learning more knowledge, taking on more responsibility. So I think companies, performance and inflation raises. I think companies from my aspect, if I was running a company with employees, I would delineate those two.
I would, but then I would have to ask. This is the tough situation that I haven't been able to wrap my head around. If the country's doing bad and we're devaluing the dollar or whatever, let's say inflation goes the other way, you're not going to take money away from somebody. You know what I'm saying? If you do deviate those two, but I will to add to that, I don't see AC businesses failing much in most economies. Like, and I'm being very narrow-minded when I say that, because my experience is with our family business, it was always this the whole time. It didn't matter if it was COVID, the 2008, crash. It didn't matter what it was. Every year was a better year than the year before. And I'm wondering, is it mostly like that for all of the HVAC industry?
We can have some of the guys that close their shops up on the podcast.
I mean, I think it
week.
depends on depends on the shop.
There's other reasons for closing your shop, though, man. I mean, you could also run a bad business and not manage money well and just spend it all.
They just get sold. It's
Well,
true.
I mean,
Not
some
many
people-
close, even in my area, man.
Some people don't even price their stuff right, so they're not even making enough money to make they're not bringing in enough money to even make a profit.
Those
They're
are the
barely
ones I'm
breaking
thinking.
even.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
guys that are doing side job prices and they own a company. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous in
Yeah.
some places, man.
That's tough, man. It's
Yeah.
Where would you send somebody to learn about how to price yourself? If like knee-jerk reaction, someone's like, man, I don't know if I'm pricing myself right.
Right.
Like, where should I get this question all the time. Hey man, how much should I charge for the blower door test? How much should I charge for the duct leakage test? How much should I charge to evaluate this person's home? And blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah. Dude, the blower door especially, though, like that's all over the place.
Yeah.
But
And-
businesses, like, I don't know, man, HVAC school group, you get like 150 replies in 15 minutes.
Well, this is when Eric usually pulls me out of hot water and goes, you can't say that. Eric, dude, right when I started this job, I was coming in as like contractor Chris, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna tell him how to do it. And Eric's like, yeah, you can't do that. He's like, you get in trouble for that one. You remember that?
Shoot it to him straight.
Eric's like, yeah, I don't know if I'd go there. He's like, that's crossing the line. You're not supposed to cross.
Just text me, and then I could say whatever I want.
Yeah,
I'll be your spokesman.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean,
I don't have
you
Eric around, man.
do have to be especially in pricing discussions, like you have to be really careful about the it's anti-competition laws and things like that. Like if you get onto some of these forums and groups, and I get really nervous watching some of these guys saying, well, I'm going to price, they ask how much is everybody else pricing? And I'm like, whoa. If you start having a group that starts talking straight up and I'm going to price the same as everybody else, that gets into antitrust laws. And it's actually really easy to look that stuff up online, but federal antitrust laws are they're no joke, and they will prosecute those.
This is like a white collar crime.
Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah, because you can't have a group sitting there and agreeing that, we're all going to price stuff the same across the board.
Oh, it's like mafia union stuff. All
because
right, gotcha.
that becomes anti-competitive. Because the whole idea of competition is to, the idea behind competition is that it's going to drive prices down.
All right, so let's do a private chat in the grapevine. All right, nobody can see it.
Oh man.
Give me 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's
crazy. That can happen. And you start talking about these groups and chat rooms and things like that, and they can realistically go after that stuff if they want to.
Yeah. I walked a fine line at the symposium this year with that, because I was like, I'm gonna educate on how to make money, right? And I was making my slides, and me and Bill Graber were going back and forth, and Bill's like, he's like, I don't know if I could let you go that far. And I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, dude, what are you? I'm like, this is what people want to hear. I'm like, I asked in the chats. I'm like, they want to know how to sell it, man. I'm like, let me give them what I know. And he's like, all right, we'll figure this out. And man, I pushed to get that slide out on how to structure a business and what profit should look like and all that. If you didn't see it, sorry, go watch the video. But
What's up, A-Team?
I will A-Team in the house. But
What's going on, broski?
There, and you know what? I would say I had 5 people come up to me and contact me after that show and say, man, I really wish you would. I thought you were going to embellish more on the how to sell it slides. And I'm like, man, I wanted to, I wanted to, but I was just kind of, couldn't.
Well, again, you can talk about how to structure things based on their costs and their expenses and things like that, because everybody's costs are going to be slightly different. So that's something that can be talked about. It's when you start talking about hard prices. This is my price, or this is the price we should all charge for this.
Yeah.
Right.
That
gets into, as Will said, collusion and antitrust laws and things like that.
Right.
And that's
by the way, I'm not going to jail for this shit. I don't make any money for doing this. Don't put me in jail.
Yeah. That's why we don't have any sponsors, guys. Just to let everybody know. Because if we had sponsors, we'd probably have, 1.5 million subscribers by now. So that's the reason I'm blaming it. So if you're in this,
I want to thank you, Jerry Garcia, kicking me these books. Comfort Dynamics from Miami.
Yeah,
Miami, baby.
All right,
that man's awesome, bro. He kicked me those books, bro.
So here's what I'll say, guys. Interesting stuff. Will, I don't know you, but I feel like I'm gonna know you. I hope it's a good to know you, because I just got an email from you and it sounds like you want to chat. That's really awesome. So we have started this process apparently.
Awesome, bro.
Will,
and I really appreciate everybody chatting it up too, man.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's Will G Speed that's on Overtime and on Facebook. I've seen some of his stuff. He's a pretty cool dude. He does some pretty neat stuff.
I hope he's cool, because we just let the cat out of the bag in a big way tonight. If he's one of those guys who's gonna be like, down now, like
Will's a tech. He gets into some really cool shit.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Look him up on Overtime. He's on that group a bunch, and man, he gets into some cool stuff. But
nice.
Yeah, Overtime had like Big Clive, man. That guy is like a Highlander.
Nice.
I would
see that
say,
guy on there?
I would say Will's more like he's not a tech. He's more of a service, what I would term as a service engineer.
Service engineer.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's a whole nother topic that we could talk about, because I got into that discussion and thinking about the delineation between technician and service engineer and some of the things we were talking about out at the educators conference. That's a whole thing we could dig into one of these weeks. Oh gosh, here goes Johnny again.
Oh shit, Johnny's here.
That's who we're gonna invite to ASHRAE. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you want to see that cat at ASHRAE, he'll bring it. I'm just saying.
You want to see
I thought Johnny was on the call, man. I was like, oh shit.
Bring it. What's that?
You want to see somebody get kicked out fast? Just take Johnny to ASHRAE.
All right, guys. Until next week.
Thanks, guys, for showing up, man. Like, comment, subscribe, bud. Let's go.